Hello everybody, welcome back, and today I want to go over how to use Tweakeroo in very basic senses. So before we do anything, we need to learn how to open the program. So if you press X, hold X and press C, it'll open the Tweakeroo configs, and you can see that way up at the top there. And there's a bunch of tabs that we can see. But we're going to start off just in the generic and kind of go through at least some of these here in a second. So in generic, you kind of have some basic commands and stuff, but some of the ones that I personally love is the hand restock. So basically, if you are building a big base or something and you're using stacks of blocks, so if we had 8, and then we come out of creative and we start placing these. If you look at the bottom, you'll see that at 5, my hand completely restocked up to pretty much a full stack. And that is how it works. So if we were to place all these again, and there you go. So it restocks your inventory very easily and nicely. Something else that I love about Tweakeroo. So something else that I love about Tweakeroo in the generic menu is the free camera player inputs. So in Tweakeroo, you can use a free camera to fly around. And pretty much what the free camera player inputs does is, when enabled, the attacks and use actions are still allowable by the player. So like I'm attacking, if I were to, look down at this, I can use the free camera and pretty much just, dig my way down. All the way down. And I can still move. If I wanted to, I could keep going. But I can allow myself to look around. This is really good for like redstone builds. Instead of having to, input a random NPC into the game, or like if you're on a server where you can't do that at all, you can use this, set your player into a corner, do whatever you're supposed to do, go into free camera, and it will do the movements for you while you just look around and do stuff. It is fantastic. So in order to actually go in and use FreeCam, you have to have some sort of hotkey. So if we go back into our Tweakeroo configs and go to the tab Tweaks, and we can search up cam, you can see we have Tweak Free Camera. And I just have it on X and L. You can have it on whatever you want, I've shown in other videos you can put this to literally whatever you want. If that's what you want, that's what you want. But I just do X and L. So when I go into XL, you can see toggle free camera is on, and now it is off. So going into the Tweakeroo configs again and going to the Yeets tab, this allows us to basically turn off vanilla Minecraft stuff. So the first one you can see is disable boss fog. So pretty much in the end type thing, it'll turn this off. I think another one is nether fog. Yep. So I have the nether fog turned off. If you want to disable the nether portal, nausea movement effects and stuff, you can turn that off. I have it so I can still go into my inventory when going into the nether portal. So if I just need to look at items that I have, I don't have to wait to exit out or walk out of the portal. I can do it in the portal still. And then I just have this one is disabling if you hit a wall or another block, and it usually stops you from sprinting. I don't have that on, so if I'm running up a bunch of stairs, I don't have to worry about having to keep pressing sprint or control or double clicking W or whatever. I don't remove too much. That's pretty much what I disable. So now going into the Tweaks tab, if we scroll back up to the top here, I'm going to go over this one in a second, and I'll go over that one also in a second. But one that I love is the hand restock, which I showed earlier. This basically enables swapping a new stack to the main or offhand when the previous stack runs out. So it's the same thing as in generic. If we did hand restock, it will do the same thing as that. That was down here. Another one that I like is the gamma override. So if you're in a really dark area, say like the nether roof or something, or in a cave, but you don't want to use torches, or you just need to look at everything very clearly. So if we go into this cave with the gamma override turned off, you can see how it's just very dark and such. But if I turn gamma override on, it turns the brightness of the entire game to full max. So it just allows you to view, big cave systems if you needed, or if you're trying to work on a build that happens to be really dark at the moment and you don't want to place a light source down, you can do that. And this works, in the nether, in the ends, underground, obviously. And it is just fantastic. So I can just go up throughout this entire cave and see everything perfectly clear, like this diamond. Is it just one? Wow, that's unfortunate. Just one diamond. And the other thing that I like to use is if I need to go AFK in the tweaks menu, or at like a farm or something, I can hold down eating. So I can hold down right click, and it will basically permanently eat for me if I'm AFKing at a farm. Now, the only downside is if I forget to turn it off, and I switch to rockets while on the ground. So if, I'm holding use, eating or whatever, and I look down at something, it will continue to hold use, just like this. And if you fly with an elytra, you go through rockets this quickly. So it's just something you got to be aware of when using the hold use. And the other one is periodic attack. Again, this is for pretty much AFK farming. So if you need to, kill mobs or whatnot, you can use that, and it will pretty much auto attack the correct length for you. So if I grab a sword and use it, you can see pretty much right when the loading bar ends, it attacks again. So you can adjust this, I believe, the timings. I believe you can adjust in the periodic attack interval. So you can set this interval to whatever you want. It's crazy, but I would just leave it at 20 because that's pretty much exactly. Might be able to do like 18 or something like that, but I personally just leave it at 20 because that's pretty much what it's good for. The last thing that I like to use is the tweak swap almost broken tools. So in essence, what this does is if a tool gets down to like, I think it's 20 or 10 durability, it will automatically swap that tool out for either an equivalent tool. So if you have like two axes in your hand, pickaxes in your hand, and the first one you're using gets down to 10 or 20 durability, it will automatically replace it with the new tool that is either has full durability or has more durability than the current one. And if no tools fit that requirement, then it will say there are no more tools to use. You need to go repair them pretty much. And this is great if you are mindlessly mining anything, sand or stone. It will automatically switch the tools for you. So this next one is kind of a big thing, mainly for redstoners in my opinion, but it could also be used for builders. And that is to do with block placements for directional blocks. So in order for me to show this off and you to follow along, we want to make sure these first two things are enabled in the generic. So the very first two are enabled in generic. And then if we go over to tweaks, make sure the tweak accurate block placement is also set to true. And the tweak flexible block placement is also set to true in the tweaks menu. Now, if we go over to hotkeys now and scroll just a little bit, you can see that automatically the flexible placement offset and the flexible block placement rotation have their own controls. You can set these to whatever you want. I would recommend leaving them. So if we go in here and grab an observer as the example, when you place an observer normally it faces away from you. But if we hold left alt and just look at, say, a block and its edge facing you, we can place that block backwards. And it is amazing. Or if you're facing a block and you want to have it, and you're crouching in a big circle and you just need it, and you can't get over here because it's the air blocks 30 feet down, but you need this observer to face that way. Well, you can hold left alt and boom, have it face that way. Or if you can do it the other way, same thing. Or if you need it to go down, same thing. Or you need it to go up, same thing. Now, if you need the block to be placed right there, you can hold the left control and it will offset the block that way. Now, the offset is also great for making, downwards facing staircases. You can make a staircase going down. So you don't have to try to align your staircases with the ground. And that is how easy it is to make a staircase going down or even up. You don't have to place your, you don't have to waste extra blocks doing this. You can just do this all the way up to whatever height you need, and you save pretty much a ton of blocks. Now, say for directional blocks, again, if you need, offset block there, but you need it facing that way, you can hold control and alt at the same time and do that, and it will face that way. But yeah, you can't do, if you need it to go the other way, then you have to do it pretty much like this, or like that. That's kind of the only way to get it to work facing the other way, but at least you can place it off center. Or you can do this and then do this if you need to, and then just break that one. Same thing, it works, but offset blocks are nice to do because you don't have to do any weird stuff. And that is it for those. Now, the last thing I want to go over is actually randomizing block placement in from your hotbar. So if we, grab a couple of blocks, where's some gravel? Oh, there's some, there we go. So if we have these 5 blocks in our inventory, but we want to kind of randomize it, instead of clicking and, making sure it's randomized, what you can do instead is go to the configs again, go to generic and look up hotbar. So the Hotbar Randomizer max here looks at, if you hover over it, it says it will go from 1 to the maximum slot after an item use. So it'll start at the first hotbar and go up to 9. So if we want the first 5, we go to 5. If we want the first 4, we go to 3, and so on. But we want the first 5. So that's what we'll do. And then if we go to hotkeys and look up, if we go to tweaks, if we go to tweaks and do hotbar slot randomizer, if we do this, set it to true, you can set it to some a hotkey if you want. You don't have to, but we'll set the slot randomizer to true. And then if we go back in here, you can see that it randomizes the items in the first 5 inventory slots. And now we have a randomizer. So if you're trying to make, a randomized wall or floor pattern or whatever you need to randomize for, this will literally do it for you. And with this, if you have hand restock on and you have a bunch of items, in your inventory, it will automatically restock those first 5 slots with the full stack. And it is just great. And I think with that, those are pretty much all the things that I use Tweakeroo for. I may be missing something, but in essence, those are pretty much all of them. So I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you all found it useful, informative, and I went through enough details to get you all started. And, just to make sure you got it all correct. So I hope everyone stays happy, stays healthy, and I shall see you all next time. Goodbye.